Queen Camilla has been quietly forced out of Buckingham Palace, and the reason is devastating. Following King Charles's tragic health decline, insiders reveal a storm of betrayal, power struggles, and one final ultimatum from Prince William. What really happened behind those palace walls will shock even the most loyal royal watchers. The diagnosis that shook the crown. The palace lights may still shine bright, but behind those gilded windows, a quiet storm is tearing the monarchy apart. For months, the world was told King Charles was battling cancer, but in a controlled, manageable way. Public statements called it routine and temporary. But that version of the story is starting to fall apart. Now, multiple palace insiders are confirming what many feared. The king's condition is worsening fast. Sources close to the royal medical team say Charles has suffered adverse side effects from ongoing treatments, fatigue, memory issues, and even moments of confusion. One royal aide, speaking under strict anonymity, revealed, "His hands tremble constantly now. He struggles to hold papers during briefings and sometimes forgets what he just said. He's not the same man from just 6 months ago." It gets more chilling. During a recent hospitalization, brushed off publicly as a short stay, the truth was far more alarming. Charles was monitored for nearly 72 hours straight after collapsing in his private quarters. A source from inside Clarence House says the doctors described it as a near-system failure. But the royal PR team went into overdrive to mask the panic. More shocking still, Charles has begun speaking in finalities. No more talk of recovery, only talk of what he'll leave behind. Staff say his recent conversations with family are filled with phrases like, "When I'm gone," and "You must carry on without me." It's not just worrying, it's heartbreaking. But perhaps the most powerful moment came during a quiet, late-night meeting with Prince William. One of Charles's most trusted aides reportedly witnessed the king hand William a small sealed envelope. Inside, only 5 haunting words written in the king's shaky handwriting. "Now it's your turn, son." That moment changed everything. From that day forward, the palace began shifting in energy. Medical teams increased their presence. Senior staff started coordinating more directly with William. And Charles, once active and visible, has retreated almost completely from public view. According to one insider, the king rarely leaves his study now. His meals are brought in. He cancels meetings often. Some days, he doesn't even change out of his robe. Even the Queen's Guard noticed the change. Charles used to wave at them during walks. Now, the windows stay closed, the curtains drawn. There's a growing fear within royal circles that the king may not live to see the end of the year. As one source put it bluntly, we're all quietly preparing for a Christmas without the king. But as Charles's candle flickers, a new flame is starting to burn brighter. A quiet shift is unfolding in the background, one that signals the beginning of a new reign, even before the current one has officially ended. The question is no longer if Prince William will take over. It's how soon. And that answer is coming faster than anyone expected. William quietly steps in as de facto king. No trumpets, no coronation, no public announcement. Yet, inside palace walls, everyone already knows Prince William is now the one holding the crown's weight. Since that quiet letter from King Charles, something has changed in William. Not just his schedule, but his posture, his presence, his authority. Insiders say he's now attending all major state briefings, many of which were once the king's sole responsibility. Parliament updates, military briefings, security overviews. It's all being directed to William. One senior advisor revealed, Everything now flows through him. He's not waiting for titles. He's already acting as king. They call it Operation Regency, a confidential protocol only activated when the reigning monarch becomes too unwell to lead. While it hasn't been officially declared to the public, palace staff confirm that key transition steps have already begun. Most telling of all, William's calendar is no longer his own. His personal engagements have been cleared. His appearances are now state-centered, and more, he's being seen at Windsor and Buckingham, holding meetings from the very same rooms his father once used. And it's not just his presence that's shifting, it's his power. According to an insider, William recently made a direct call to the Prime Minister's office, bypassing traditional royal channels. That kind of move only happens when a future monarch is already preparing to rule. But William isn't doing this alone. Beside him, always, is Catherine. Despite her own health battles, she's returned to a more public-facing role. Softly, but powerfully. The image of her hand resting on William's back as he exited a state briefing last week sent a clear message. This is the monarchy's new foundation. One former palace secretary said, "They're not just stepping in, they're stabilizing the whole institution. The people trust them, the staff trust them. Even the international partners are starting to shift their focus to William." Meanwhile, King Charles has gone quiet. No statements, no appearances. His signature on key documents is still present, but reportedly shaky. Symbolically, he's still king. But functionally, the throne is already William's. But this rise hasn't come without tension. Because as William takes the reins, someone else isn't letting go so easily. Her name is Camilla, and what she does next could trigger the biggest royal fallout in decades. What started as whispers of frustration will soon explode into a full-blown confrontation, with the future of the monarchy hanging in the balance. And it all begins with one woman's refusal to step aside. The Queen Consort is about to make her move, and William is ready to stop her. Queen Camilla's strange behavior raises questions. While King Charles fades quietly behind palace doors, Camilla's behavior has taken a shocking turn, and the public is starting to notice. Instead of staying by her husband's side during what many insiders believe are his final months, Camilla has continued with royal duties like nothing's wrong. Ribbon cuttings, art gallery openings, even a lavish overseas charity gala, all attended solo. And all while Charles reportedly couldn't even stand unaided. The mood inside the palace is tense. Royal staff are whispering about her choices, calling them cold, confusing, and in some cases, cruel. One member of the king's private household revealed, "We all thought she would pause, but she just kept going. It was like she was distancing herself, emotionally and physically." Behind the scenes, things get even more unsettling. A royal source leaked that Charles begged her not to leave the country during a recent health scare, but she still boarded the jet. According to the insider, Camilla was overheard saying, "I can't stop my life for him." That single quote has now become a flashpoint. It's been printed in tabloids, dissected on social media, and passed around within royal circles like a secret everyone wishes they hadn't heard. And the public? They've turned. People are asking, where is the Queen when the King is suffering? It's not just a PR crisis, it's a full-blown empathy breakdown. Worse still, Camilla has barely appeared in the same room as Charles in recent weeks. No hospital visits captured by press. No quiet support moments. Just headlines about solo appearances and glamorous photo shoots. Royal watchers are furious. One commentator said it best: "This should be a time of unity. The king is clearly not well, and yet Camilla's absence sends a message. She's choosing the spotlight over her husband." Some say she's trying to preserve her own image, fearing that being tied too closely to Charles during his decline might damage her long-term standing. Others believe the pressure of impending transition is too much, and she's simply checking out. But not everyone in the family is staying silent. Behind the scenes, senior royals like Princess Anne and Prince Edward are said to be growing deeply uncomfortable with Camilla's behavior. Several aides claim Anne confronted her privately, urging her to stand beside your husband or step aside. Still, Camilla continues forward, smiling for cameras, attending events, and issuing cheerful press releases, all while the king grows weaker by the day. And it's not just about appearances anymore. Something far more dangerous is coming. Because behind palace doors, Camilla is about to make a bold and controversial move, one that crosses a line no one expected her to even approach. She doesn't just want to be visible, she wants to lead. And when she tries to take power for herself, Prince William won't stay silent any longer. The final straw. Camilla tries to assume power. Everything boiled over one stormy afternoon inside the palace walls. What started as quiet tension exploded into a full-blown power grab, and it came from the most unlikely place: Queen Camilla herself. With King Charles growing too weak to manage day-to-day royal duties, Camilla reportedly stepped forward, claiming she was ready to assist in leading on his behalf. She began attending select internal briefings. She requested access to diplomatic documents. And in one stunning moment, she tried to reschedule William and Catherine's appearances without consulting them. According to a palace insider, Camilla walked into the room like she was in charge. But the moment she tried to override William's schedule, that's when it all stopped. Prince William intervened immediately. Sources say he stood firm in front of senior aides and declared, "No one speaks for the crown but me now." Those 9 words sent shockwaves through the palace. Camilla had crossed a line and she knew it. What she framed as helping Charles was seen by many as a power move disguised as compassion. Even worse, a confidential internal memo surfaced, a document Camilla had signed, showing her attempt to bypass protocol and insert herself as a key decision-maker. The memo was meant to be private, but someone leaked it. Once it reached William, the confrontation became unavoidable. And he wasn't alone. Princess Anne reportedly sided with William, calling Camilla's behavior disrespectful and dangerous. Insiders say Anne, who has always been fiercely loyal to the crown's rules, told Camilla directly, "This isn't your role. This was never your place." The family was now divided, and King Charles was told everything. When he heard what happened, one aide claimed, "He didn't say a word. He didn't defend her. He just went quiet." That silence was the loudest answer of all. From that point on, Camilla was quietly excluded from high-level meetings. Her name was no longer attached to official briefings. Staff were told to reroute communications directly to William's office. This moment marked the true fracture point in the royal household. One palace guard revealed, "The energy changed. You could feel it in the hallways. She was being frozen out, and she knew it." The Queen Consort's influence was evaporating fast, and William's stance was clear. Camilla could no longer represent the monarchy. And behind the scenes, he was preparing for one final confrontation with his father. A conversation that would decide everything. Camilla had tried to take the throne in spirit, Now, William would make sure she lost it in practice. William's private ultimatum: she must go. It happened behind locked doors. No cameras, no advisors, just a father and son, one clinging to the past, the other trying to save the future of the monarchy. Following Camilla's shocking attempt to seize control, Prince William made a decision. He requested a private meeting with King Charles, not as a son, but as the next sovereign. And what he said inside that room, according to palace insiders, changed the crown forever. William didn't raise his voice. He didn't plead. He simply laid out the facts. Camilla's behavior was not just disrespectful. It was damaging. The monarchy was already under strain. The king's health was rapidly declining, and public trust was starting to crumble. "She must go," William said plainly. "If she stays, everything we're working to protect will fall with her." He referenced the growing outrage online, the headlines flooding the tabloids. "Where is the Queen while the King fades? Camilla smiles while Charles suffers. The crown's silent divorce." It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was turning into a public relations disaster, and one that William believed the monarchy might not survive. A royal aide familiar with the conversation shared, "William wasn't threatening the king. He was protecting him, protecting the crown. He told Charles, 'This isn't about her. It's about what people see. And right now, they see a monarchy that doesn't care.'" The words hit hard, harder than anyone expected. Because King Charles wasn't just losing control of the monarchy. He was losing the love of his people again, just like he had after Diana's death. William knew exactly how to say it. He brought up Catherine, how the public adored her, how she had stepped back from duties for her health, but still carried the grace and warmth of a future queen. He contrasted that with Camilla's cold absence. The optics couldn't be more different. And the people noticed. But William didn't stop there. He made it clear that if Camilla remained at the center of power, the next reign, his reign, would begin with scandal. He warned that even he wouldn't be able to restore the monarchy's image if the public believed the royal family had lost its soul. And then came the moment that broke King Charles. Insiders say Charles wept. Silent, painful tears. Not because William was wrong, but because deep down he knew his son was right. "He's torn," one courtier said. "He loves Camilla, but he loves the monarchy more, and when forced to choose, he finally did." Days passed in silence. No public appearances, no official statements, just waiting. Then, on a foggy Tuesday morning, Charles summoned his private secretary. With shaky hands and swollen eyes, he issued the order. Camilla would leave the palace, not with punishment, but with finality. Camilla thrown out of Buckingham in stunning scene. It was a quiet morning at Buckingham Palace, but the tension in the air was anything but. At exactly 7:15 a.m., a dark car pulled into the private courtyard. Queen Camilla stepped out, dressed in gray, her expression unreadable. Her usual security team was nowhere to be seen. In fact, everything about her exit felt stripped down, like her status had already vanished. Palace staff watched in silence as two footmen carried out several sealed trunks. No ceremony, no farewell. Just a swift and silent evacuation. Insiders say her belongings had been packed the night before. Not by staff, but by Camilla herself. The official story given to the press? Her Majesty is taking time for personal reflection at her private residence. But inside the palace, everyone knew the truth. Camilla had been thrown out. A royal staffer shared, It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic. That's what made it more painful. She left like someone who had already said goodbye. Just hours before, a notice had gone out to the palace team. Camilla's access codes were revoked, her name removed from briefings, and her security detail downgraded to a civilian-level escort. Within royal circles, it was as final as an exile. She left for Ray Mill House, her countryside property in Wiltshire. Not a palace, not a royal estate, just a quiet, distant home that now reflected her new status, outside the core of the crown. But it wasn't just staff who noticed. One source close to the family revealed a heartbreaking moment. Princess Catherine was seen gently consoling King Charles that morning, not out of celebration, but sorrow. Charles had made the hardest decision of his reign, and he looked utterly broken. He wasn't proud, he wasn't angry, he was grieving, the insider said. Despite everything, Camilla's departure didn't come with malice from the family, only finality. There would be no press statement, no televised message, just a quiet shift of power and a door that would never fully reopen. And as Camilla disappeared into the fog, the world reacted. On social media, #ThrownOut began trending globally. Users flooded platforms with commentary, memes, and old clips of Princess Diana, painting this moment as poetic justice. Many royal watchers called it the ending she earned. Others saw it as a final act of protection for Charles, for William, and for the monarchy itself. But inside the palace, the work was only beginning. Because with Camilla gone, the royal family now faced a new challenge: restoring public trust, healing their image, and preparing for what comes next. And in the heart of it all, William and Catherine were stepping forward. The monarchy wasn't falling, it was evolving. A nation reacts. Sympathy turns to outrage. The moment Camilla left Buckingham Palace, the public response was instant and explosive. Within minutes, social media erupted. The #ThrownOut dominated every platform, trending worldwide by midday. Videos of Camilla's departure were paired with emotional footage of Princess Diana, with captions like "Justice at last" and "The People's Queen never left." Memes flooded the internet. Photos of Camilla being escorted out were edited with symbolic captions: "Game over, the end of an era, and a mistake," and perhaps the most brutal of all: "You can't steal the crown if the people never gave it to you." But it wasn't just online chatter. Real-world emotions ran deep. Across the UK, newsstands sold out of papers bearing the same dramatic headline: "Queen no more." Public polls showed a massive shift in opinion. According to a flash survey conducted just 24 hours after the news broke, 68% of Britons supported William's decision to remove Camilla from royal duties. Many said it was long overdue. Others called it the first right move in a long time. One royal commentator went viral after saying on live TV, "Camilla was tolerated, never loved. The public gave her a chance, but in the end, she chose herself over the king. And the people never forgive that." Meanwhile, support for King Charles surged. Sympathy for his condition, combined with the emotional pain of removing the woman he loved, painted him in a tragic but noble light. People lit candles outside the palace gates. Notes were left on the walls reading, "We see your sacrifice, Charles. We forgive you. Rest now, with dignity." But the biggest shift was toward William and Catherine. Where Camilla once stood, they now rose. Catherine, despite still recovering from her own health battle, had been seen quietly beside her husband at Windsor and Buckingham. No grand speeches, no flashy appearances, just presence. And that was enough.
Photos of her and William embracing after a private meeting lit up headlines. One image showed William holding her hand tightly as they left a briefing, captioned simply,
"The future is here." Even global outlets took notice. French media called them the royal couple of stability. American news dubbed them the crown's quiet power. And perhaps most telling, Commonwealth leaders from Australia, Canada, and New Zealand publicly expressed confidence in William's leadership. The calls for a formal transition had begun. But for now, the palace remained quiet. No public statement, no response from Camilla, just the sound of a monarchy shifting in silence, and a nation finally uniting around its future king and queen. Because while the old guard crumbled, something new was taking shape. And it was being built on loyalty, love, and the trust of the people. William and Catherine form a new monarchy. They didn't need a coronation, they didn't need a throne. All they needed was the people's trust, and they had it. In the wake of Camilla's quiet removal, William and Catherine emerged as the clear heart of the monarchy. No public announcement named them as such, but everything about their presence said it loud and clear. This is the new royal front. They began stepping out together again, first to visit community centers, then to attend diplomatic receptions. At each appearance, the reaction was overwhelming. Crowds erupted in applause. Children handed Catherine flowers. Veterans saluted William. And all without fanfare, all without spectacle. A senior palace source shared, "There was no need for a media push. The public came to them. They became the monarchy by simply being there." Despite Catherine's health still being a concern, she made the decision to return to public life slowly but deliberately. Her voice was soft, her appearances brief, but every moment carried power. In one unannounced visit to a children's hospital, she quietly told a nurse, "We're all healing in our own ways." Those 6 words made headlines across the country. Because the truth was clear, Catherine's quiet strength was holding the crown steady. Together, she and William released a brief statement thanking the public for their support. It didn't mention Camilla, it didn't mention Charles, but the message was unmistakable. We are here, we are ready, and we will carry this forward. The statement ended with a line that struck deep into the heart of the nation. The crown belongs not to one, it belongs to all. And behind palace doors, things were moving fast. Transition documents, once kept locked in vaults, were now being updated daily. Operation Regency was in full motion. And while King Charles's signature still appeared on certain documents, insiders admitted his participation was now more symbolic than functional. One advisor revealed, "Everything goes through William now. He's handling security, Parliament, foreign affairs. He's already doing the job. The only thing missing is the crown on his head." Commonwealth leaders began sending personal letters, addressing William as "Your Royal Highness" in leadership. That may sound subtle, but in royal terms, it's monumental. Even senior royals like Princess Anne and Prince Edward were seen working more closely with William's team, offering guidance but clearly passing the torch. As for Camilla, she remained out of sight. No photos, no interviews, only silence. Her name had disappeared from royal briefings completely. The monarchy had changed, no longer shaped by tradition alone, but by the will of its people. And now William and Catherine stand at the center of it all, not just as heirs, not just as royals, but as the new monarchs in spirit, if not yet in name. Camilla's new title, from Queen to Dowager, The palace made the announcement quietly, but the meaning behind it was anything but. Camilla is no longer queen. Effective immediately, she will hold the title of Dowager Queen, a formal term for a widowed or retired queen consort. While Charles is still alive, the shift is symbolic. A silent message. Her reign is over. Her name has been removed from major events. Her schedule reduced to small, countryside charities far from the public eye. Royal insiders say she requested a final public appearance to reclaim her image. King Charles denied it. Even Princess Anne and Prince Edward reportedly agreed. Letting her return would undo everything we've rebuilt. One palace source said, "She'll keep the title, but nothing else." Camilla now lives in Ray Mill House, out of the spotlight, far from the palaces that once held her influence. For the woman who once fought her way to the crown, this is the final exile. A quiet ending. A legacy rewritten in silence. Charles. Final act. A letter to both sons. Before retreating fully from public life, King Charles wrote one last letter, sealed by hand, delivered under royal diplomatic protection. It was addressed to only two people, William and Harry. Inside, just a single page. At the top, in the king's fading script, "Protect each other." The message wasn't long. It didn't offer instructions or legacy talk. Instead, it was filled with simple fatherly love and one hope, that no matter how history unfolds, his sons would reunite. Palace aides say William read it in silence, seated beside Catherine, tears slipping down his face. The letter was flown to Montecito, hand-delivered to Harry's home. What happens next? That's still unknown. But royal watchers everywhere are asking, will this final act bring them back together? With Charles now fully withdrawn and Camilla a ghost of the past, the crown rests with William. But in this final message, Charles didn't speak as king. He spoke as a father, and in that single letter, he gave the world what he never gave himself, a chance at healing. The old monarchy has ended. A new one begins, with hope, heartbreak, and history watching every step. Camilla is gone. Charles is fading. And the crown now rests silently on William's steady shoulders. What began as a royal illness has become a complete shift in power. As one reign ends in heartbreak, another begins in silence, and the monarchy may never be the same again.